Glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much for joining in our ongoing discussion of Srimad Bhagavatam. So we'll continue with our discussion on the prayers of Queen Kunti Devi. We'll start with the Mangalacharan. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jaya udhirayet nashtaprayeshu badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavate uttam shloke bhaktir bhavatir naishtike om ajnanatimirandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurun militam yena tasmai shri guruve namaha. Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Vachani Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachadi Siddhani. So we will resume our discussion from the first canto, chapter 8 and verse 34. And as I said, these are the ongoing discussions on the prayers of Queen Kunti Devi. Bharavataranyanye bhuvo navaivo nadau siddhyanta bhuribharena jato hayatma bhuvaritaha. Others say that the world, being overburdened like a boat at sea, is much aggrieved, and that Brahma, who is your son, prayed for you, and so you appeared to diminish the trouble. So, if you recollect from a week ago, Kunti Devi was, as part of her prayers, was developing the theme of why does the unborn take birth? Why does Krishna come? And so far she had given two reasons: that he comes in order to glorify Yudhishthir Maharaj and devotees like Maharaj Yadu. So Punya Shloka, it said that Punya Shloka is another name for Yudhishthir Maharaj, also another name for pious kings. So he comes to glorify his devotees. He also comes, then she says, Kunti Devi says, is because Devaki and Vasudev, they prayed to her. So in response to the prayers of Devaki and Vasudev, and then she says also that you come in response to, in this verse she says that you come in response to prayers of Lord Brahma to reduce the burden of sinful people from the world. So this particular pastime is actually described later on in the Bhagavatam. It appears in the 10th canto, first chapter, and we are all familiar with it, that this is when Mother Earth first goes to Indra, saying that it is difficult for her because of all the burden. Indra says, let's go to Lord Brahma. So they go to Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma says, let's go to Lord Vishnu. So they go to Svetadvip in the Shodakshai ocean. And that region is considered to be in Dhruvaloka. So even though it's in the material world, it is considered to be a part of Vaikuntha because of the benediction that Dhruva Maharaj got, that he would have a place higher than Brahma. And Brahma, of course, has the highest position in the material world. So Prahlad Maharaj got a position in the spiritual world that manifests in the material world. It is never destroyed. So so when so when all the devas and Brahma and Lord Shiv, along with Bhumi Devi, they pray to Shodaksha Vishnu, then within the heart of Lord Brahma, Shodaksha Vishnu says, gives the instructions that I will come. You ask the devas to take birth in various families and be ready to be prepared for my appearance. In the Garga Samhita, the pastime is played out a little bit differently. That when they pray to Shodaksha Vishnu, then Shodaksha Vishnu says, "You come with me. I'll take you to Golok Vrindavan." And he takes everybody, the whole entourage, to Golok Vrindavan, where they actually get darshan of Radha Krishna. And then Krishna, he basically gives the same promise there. So Prabhupada mentions that why is it that Mother Earth had gone to complain to Indra and Brahma about her being overburdened? Is that because there were too many people? And then Prabhupada said that's not really true, because the earth can bear the weight of unlimited people. But the reason that she went is there were too many impious people. So he says such a problem arose when Kamsa and others were ruling over the earth, and the earth became too much overburdened by the misdeeds of the Asuras. And similar vein, there is a conversation between Bali Maharaj and Shukracharya. When Shukracharya says that don't go through your promise you made to Vamandev because he'll take away everything. And then Bali Maharaj says that this earth, it can bear unlimited people, but even one person who's a liar is too heavy for the earth to bear. So he actually quotes Mother Earth saying that I can bear any heavy thing except a person who is a liar. When lecturing on this verse in Mayapur, Prabhupada says that one can assume that the residents of the planet Earth are children. That's why they say Bhumi Devi, Bhumi Ma, that Earth is the mother, she's nourishing the residents. So why should the children be heavy to the mother? All children should be, the mother should happily bear the weight of all children. And then Prabhupada quotes Chanakya Pandit, and he says, Ko artha putrena jatena. That ko artha, what is the point of jatena, having putrena, or giving birth to children, yona vidwan na bhaktima, who are neither learned nor devotees of Krishna. So that is the predicament of Mother Earth. That yes, the residents are her children, but ko-arthena. What is the point in such children who are neither devotees nor na vidwan na bhaktiman, nor are they learned. In the 9th canto, and this is Sukadeva Goswami saying that a son who acts by anticipating what his father wants him to do is first class. One who acts upon receiving his father's order is second class. And one who executes his father's order irreverently is third class. But a son who refuses his father's order is like father's stool. So in the Ramayana, it is mentioned that when Dasharath called Lord Ram, and in response to the request to have him banished by Kekai, So he's not able to speak to Lord Ram because he's so embarrassed and he's so choked up. And Lord Ram, by nature, he's very peaceful. And when he sees, when finally Dashrath cannot speak, and then Kekai says, this is what he wants to say, that you should go to the forest for 14 years, give up your kingdom. Then Lord Ram, he gets a very pained expression on his face, a hurt expression. And Dashrath and Kekai assume, because of the injustice that is being done to him, and then Lord Ram turns to Maharaj Dashrath and says that I'm really pained by the fact that you think that anything that you ask me to do will ever be a cause of distress for me. He says, obviously, I have not done my duties as a son properly. Because you're thinking that anything that you ask me to do may cause me distress or inconvenience. And Lord Ram was, of course, setting the standards of an ideal son. So this verse, it also establishes the position of Lord Brahma. And of course, people reading the Bhagavatam generally don't doubt it, but it's a verse that can be quoted. That here, Kunti Devi says that Lord Brahma went to pray to Krishna. So generally you go to ask for help from someone who has a superior position to you. So it shows Lord Brahma's dependence on Krishna. Okay, we'll do the next verse unless there are any questions or comments on this one. Okay, we'll do the next verse. So we'll do 1835. Bhaveyasmin klishyamananam vidyakam karmabhi shravana smaranarani karishyaniti kechana. And yet, others say that you appeared for the sake of rejuvenating the devotional service of hearing, remembering, worshipping, and so on, in order that the conditioned souls suffering from material pangs might take advantage and gain liberation. So Kunti Devi uses the Kunti Devi uses this phrase asmin klishya manana, and that is the hard struggle for existence. So Prabhupada says that in this world there are two kinds of people who are happy or not really happy. What he says is there are two kinds of people who are not suffering. So one are the Paramhamsas, and can anybody guess what are the second kinds who are not suffering?
Paramamurkas.
I'm sorry, Prabhu?
Paramamurkas.
Paramamurkas, yeah, thank you. So Prabhupada says that those who are the lowest of the fools. And for the first, we know why. And the second is because they don't know any better. So so there is a pastime of Indra being cursed by Brahaspati to become a pig. And when the period of the curse expired, then the devas went to get him back. And Indra said that I'm pretty happy over here. I have my stool, so much a stool to eat. I don't really have anything else to worry about. I sleep most of the day, and I have my family. I have so many wives and so many children, so I'm pretty happy. So that is one category of people, and the other Paramhamsas. But everyone in between is suffering, because they know they know they know about happiness, they know about distress, and they can make the distinction between the two. So in the 4th chapter, Krishna actually, he recites this verse, uh, and I forget the words. It is Shaddadanascha sanshayatma vinashati nayam lokasti na paro na sukham sanshayatma. I forget the very first word. Agya, yeah. Agyascha Shaddadanascha sanshayatma vinashati nayam lokasti na paro na sukham sanshayatma. And so Krishna says that Agyas, the ignorant fool, Sansayatma, the doubting, both suffer. But then he says that the one who is doubting, so one who knows but still does not follow through, he says, Nayam lokasti naparo. That this person is especially suffering. Nayam lokasti, he gets no happiness over here, na lokparo, nor in subsequent lifetime, Sansayatma vinashati. Complete destruction for the doubting person. Why? So one might think that it may be better to be ignorant as opposed to know and then doubt. So what would be so somebody says to you that isn't it better to be ignorant than to be doubting and I am lokasti naparo, that and then basically suffer this lifetime, subsequent lifetime, and and Krishna is saying sanshayatma vinashati. Krishna is basically targeting us for vinashati. So isn't it better to stay in ignorance?
No, Prabhu. I think although ignorant person may be in his ignorance may be happy, but a doubting person basically has two options: either this route or that route. So he can choose at one point this, but he always has a chance to choose the something else. Or
Okay. Any other thoughts? So one way to look at it is that a person doubts what has been told to him. Right? Somebody tells somebody the Bhagavad Gita, and the person doubts the Bhagavad Gita. But what is the presumption? That he has been given the opportunity to make devotional service, to make devotional advancements. Right? So the mercy of Krishna has come to him through his devotee. But essentially, what he is doing is Vaishnava Peksha. That a devotee has come to him and said that Bhagavad Gita is Krishna, Krishna is the destination. And why has that happened? Because of the mercy that has come. But then he looks at that mercy, he throws it down and he steps on it. Which is why Krishna is more upset about him. So if a person has not had the opportunity to do, so then he is at least he is not offended. And of course, the flip side of this is that somebody might say, then isn't it better not to preach? Because when you preach, you are giving this person this opportunity to become Sanshayatma and then subsequently Vinashya. So it comes in the category of, what do they say, no risk, no gain. But what if the person becomes a devotee? Then the person has got access to the highest benediction that is possible. And the second aspect, of course, is that preaching also is an art. That when you preach in a way. So when preaching, the most important thing in the mind of the preacher is to create a situation in which the devotional life of the recipient of this preaching is always preserved. And in the 18th chapter, when Krishna says that one who shares this conversation is dear to me, but then he also says that this information is never revealed to the NBS, and Prabhupada has a good purport on that. So that's the balance between preaching. So preaching and non-preaching, rather. So basically, this verse is presenting the third reason for Krishna's descent being recounted by Kunti Devi, that he has basically come for paritranaye, no, for vinashaye cha dushkritam. Okay, we'll do the next verse. 1835. Whenever Prem Kishore Prabhu is ready. So we'll do 1835. Okay. Aveyasmin klishyamananam avidyakam karmabhihi shravana smaranarani karishyaniti kechana. No, I'm sorry. Prabhu was right. I was wrong. 1836. Did I did I skip a verse?
We did 35, Prajit. Now we're doing 36.
No, it is right sequence, Prabhu. It is 36. We just finished 35.
We just finished 35.
Yeah. We just spoke about this, right? You operate in sake of regimenting and devotion service of hearing, remembering, and worshiping.
Okay, thank you. 36. The 36 is a fairly famous verse. Prabhupada liked quoting this verse. Shanvanti gayanti grananti akishna shah smaranti nandati tavahitam janaha eva pashyantya chirena tavakam pava pravaho paramam padambujam. O Krishna, those who continuously hear, chant, and repeat your transcendental activities, or take pleasure in others doing so, certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. So Kunti Devi has so far given 5 reasons of why does the unborn take birth. So in the verse 32, she said, Punya shlokasya kirtaye yada priyasya navanye, that to glorify Maharaj Yudhishthir and pious kings like Maharaj Yadu. Then in the next verse, she said, Vasudevasya devakyam yachita. Because of the prayers of his pure yachita, the prayers of his pure devotees like Vasudevasya devakyam. Then in 33 again, she gives the third reason, Vadayacha shuradusham, to kill those who are envious of the devas. In 34, Haravata Rana Yanne Bhuvo, to reduce the burden of Bhumi Devi. And Then in 35th verse, she gives the 5th reason, which was for rejuvenating the devotional service of hearing, remembering, hearing, and worshipping. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that the actual reason was the 5th reason. Everything else is incidental. So he said Krishna could accomplish the other things in so many ways. But the primary reasons that ajam jatam, that the unborn takes birth, is to help the conditioned soul perform devotional service. Now this verse, Shanvanti Gayanti Granyanti Abhikshnashaha, is the Falstuti. It is the prayojan of the previous verse. So Grananti means to take to it. Grananti means to acquire. So when one takes to the process of Shanvanti Gayanti Smaranti. So Shanvanti is hearing, Gayanti is chanting, Smaranti is remembering, then Abhiks Nasha. So Nasha means something that is destroyed, and Abhiks Nasha means that's something that is never destroyed. So when one takes to it consistently, without letting go of it for themselves, as well as hitam jana, as well as for others. So Kunti Devi is now bringing forth her mood, and the mood of that she wants us to acquire, that of a preacher. So hitam jana, so other people can be interpreted in two ways. That those who take pleasure, nandanti, in others performing these activities. And the other interpretation of others is that those who take in performing a pleasure in performing these activities for others. So the first are those who are favorable to spirituality. So they may not be devotees, but they enjoy it. They see a devotee and they're respectful to the devotee. They take pleasure. They may go to kirtan, enjoy the kirtan sincerely. And the second is those who take pleasure in performing these activities for others. So these are the people who go out on the streets and perform Harinam. These are people who are reaching out to the lives of others and educating them about Shanvanti Gayanti Smaranti by doing it themselves. So Kunti Devi is talking about three types of devotees. Those who are practicing themselves, those who support, those who practice, and those who preach to others into making them practice. And she considers all of them she says, will certainly see your lotus feet. So it's interesting that she's considering all of them to be at the same level. So why is this? One can make a distinction between those who are supporting, those who are practicing, and those who are preaching. Kunti Devi apparently does not make this distinction. Why is that?
So you're saying like Prabhuji, Kunti Devi makes a distinction or she does not make a distinction?
So in this verse, she doesn't make the distinction. She says all three of them will certainly see your lotus feet.
At some point they will see, right? I mean, not everybody will see at the same time. So like those who are preaching and practicing both, they will see. They will be the first persons to.
Yes. Thank you. So Kunti Devi is reflecting the mood of, to some extent, Krishna and that of advanced devotees. That one who is supporting will at some point start practicing, and one who is practicing will at some point start preaching. only thing that separates is time. And time, at least from a spiritual perspective, is generally deprecated. So that is why she's saying that all of them will see your lotus feet. So Prabhupada in the purport, he uses the flip side of this. I'll read the purport, the part of the purport, and then explain what he's trying to say. So Prabhupada says that generally people hear from unauthorized persons. Such unauthorized persons may be very learned by academic qualifications, but because they do not follow the principles of devotional service, hearing from such becomes a sheer waste of time. Sometimes the texts are interpreted fashionably to suit their own purposes. Therefore, first one should select a competent and bona fide speaker and then hear from him. So Prabhupada is using this to, and again Prabhupada is exemplifying the mood of Kunti Devi. Why is it important to preach? Because if you preach, then the people have the opportunity to hear from an authorized source. Because generally the sources are not authorized. Generally speaking, the 9 processes of devotional service are considered to be at the same level. Shravana, Kirtana, Smaran, Vandanam, they're considered to be at the same level. So in the purport, Prabhupada, he makes a distinction. He says that when the hearing process is perfect and complete, the other processes become automatically perfected in their own way. So he's making this distinction that hearing encompasses everything. And he's making that distinction for 2 reasons. One, that in this current age, that is all that we have access to, which is hearing. So he might say Atmaniveda. Not many people can do Atmaniveda. But Prabhupada at many points, and later on he again says in the purport, he says that just hear. Don't have to do much. In one purport actually he says that you don't even have to understand. Just hear. Even if you don't understand, just hear. That itself is perfection. So he's glorifying it because of its accessibility and the fact that it is not weaker than any of the other processes. So just like the holy name is more accessible, so it is glorified, but it is not weaker than performing mystic opulences or performing temple worship, etc. That is why it is glorified. So Kunti Devi uses the word eva to indicate that. So eva is like certainty, that such people are certainly delivered. One can also use the word eva to say that that certainly these results are delivered to these people and none others. So this is Vishwanath Chakravarti's Thakur's interpretation to talk about. He brings forth that bhakti is only delivered to devotees. So one should not aspire to get bhakti through any other process. Now, eva means certainly delivered, and then Kunti Devi says achirena. So achirena, so this is Kunti Devi actually acknowledging the time factor. So achirena means without delay, that these are delivered promptly. So what is delivered promptly? That pashyanti tavakam padambhujam. So pashyanti means to see, and padambhujam is Krishna's lotus feet. So when you see Krishna's lotus feet, then the side effect of that is one is bhava pravaho paramam. Bhava pravaho means the pravaha is like a whirlpool. Bhava Pravaho means the cycle of birth and death, and uparamam, that stops. So the audience of the lotus feet of Krishna will give one spiritual emancipation, and as a side effect of that, one gets material liberation. So somebody might say, especially in the context of Kunti Devi, that why are you talking about Shranvanti, Gayanti, Smaranti, when Krishna is standing right in front of you? So why do you have to go through all this process when you're having direct darshan? And Prabhupada explains that in the purport. He said that when Krishna was personally present on the face of the globe, not everyone could see him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Materialists like Ravan, Hiranyakashipu, Kamsa, Jarasandha, and Shishupal were highly qualified personalities by acquisition of material assets. But they were unable to appreciate the presence of the Lord. Therefore, even though the Lord may be present before our eyes, it is not possible to see him unless we have the necessary vision. And how do we get the necessary vision? Shranvanti, Gayanti, Smaranti. By the process of, so Prabhupada would say that we see through our ears. That when we hear the holy name, we see through our tongue. When we chant, we see through our mind. When we meditate on Krishna. So in this context, I wanted to share a verse with you that is recited by Lord Brahma, and it is a very powerful preaching verse. Also very powerful to preach to ourselves. So this is Brahma when he is begging forgiveness from Krishna after the Brahma Vimohan Leela. It appears in 10th canto, 14th chapter, verse 13. And Brahma says that those who, even while remaining situated in their established social positions, throw away the process of speculative knowledge, and with their body, words, and mind, offer all respects to descriptions of your personality and activities, dedicating their lives to these narrations, which are vibrated by you personally and by your pure devotees, certainly conquer your lordship, although you are otherwise unconquerable by anyone within the three worlds. So one of the key points Lord Brahma makes over here is sthane sthitaha shruti, sthane sthitaha, that while staying in your current positions, this is one thing that Prabhupada would also say, you don't have to give up anything. You can practice devotional service while sthane sthitaha. All you have to do is, while situated in your current position, offer with your body, mind, and words to the glorification of the Lord, and the result is the highest, that they conquer Krishna. Prabhupada would say that the Mayavadis, they want to become God. We want to be higher than God. We want to make God our son so that we can beat him up. We want to make him our lover so that we can get angry with him. So the highest results are promised by just staying in a current position. So this is also a famous. This is one of the famous preaching that was done by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And does anybody know that who was the recipient of this preaching?
Preaching of what? Like I missed it.
So this sentiment. So this sentiment was echoed by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he was preaching to somebody.
Rupa Goswami Prabhu?
No, not Rupa Goswami.
Sthane Sthita was spoken with Ramananda Rai, But also he spoke the same to Vasudev Brahman in Kurmakshetra.
Kurmakshetra. So Sthanisthita was not spoken to Ramananda Roy. Sthanisthita was spoken by Ramananda Roy. When Mahaprabhu asked him, give me something higher and higher.
Yes.
Then Ramananda Roy, he says, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma. And he says, that is fine. Tell me something higher. So right after that, he says Sthanisthita. That, by the way, is a wonderful conversation. It appears in Madhya Lila 8th chapter. But yes, this was spoken by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the Brahman, the Kurma Brahman. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met him, and then when he was leaving, then Kurma Brahman, he wanted to give up his family and everybody and follow him. He was so much in love with him. He just wanted to follow him and devote his life to serving. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that you stay wherever you are, but engage in the process of chanting the holy name. And then he says, I give you my assurance that you will never be separate from me. So Prabhupada, when lecturing on this particular verse, so the 1836 verse we're discussing, he was giving a lecture in Mayapur in 1974, and he talked about Parikshit Maharaj. He said Parikshit Maharaj didn't do anything, but he just sat down and listened. That Shanvanti. He didn't even do Gayanti, he didn't do Smarananti, he just did Shanvanti. Prabhupada said hearing for 7 days. Then his life was finished. So if you simply hear without doing anything, simply sit down at the temple. And whenever there is talk of Bhagavad Gita, you go on hearing. Bas. Even if you do not understand, please hear. That's all. That vibration, that mantra vibration will help you. Understanding is not very important thing. There may be so many fools and rascals. They do not know grammar. They do not know Sanskrit. So there is no need. Apratihata. Bhakti is apratihata. Nothing can check the progress of bhakti. So simply you have to adopt the process of hearing. Okay. Any questions, comments on this verse?
So, Prashit, earlier you mentioned that hearing process is basically, especially for this day and age. And then, the last portion, like what you read about Prabhupada's lecture, that basically said that it's for all the ages.
It's for all the ages, but it is especially glorious in this age because there is nothing else that we are able to do. So it's difficult for us to do Gayanti, Smaranti, worship, etc. But it is accessible to us. So there are 9 processes, they're all equally potent, but hearing is the process that is most accessible to us, and that's why it is especially potent in this age. And then Prabhupada also has this caveat, right? Because he says that even if you don't understand, I was pretty blown away when I read that Prabhupada not once but twice he makes this point. So I know it gives me a lot of, because many times when I hear lectures, I don't understand the points that are being made, and I'm like, that is it worthwhile for me to listen to the lecture? And at least this gave me a lot of help, that yes, at least if I'm hearing, it's help. I mean, of course, it doesn't mean that you don't make an effort to understand, but if you can't understand, then there is no loss. It is all for gain only.
Right. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. What is the meaning of the word Grananti? And you associated that with Srunvanti, Gayanti also.
So Grananti means to acquire. It's Graha, right? It means to acquire. So ones who takes to the process of Shanvanti, Gayanti, Smaranti. Okay. So if there are no other questions, we'll do the next verse, 1837. Apyadyanastvam swakrita heta prabho jihasase sudro anujivanaha yesham na chanyad bhavata padambujad parayan rajasu yajitamaha sam. O my Lord, you have executed all duties yourself. Are you leaving us today? Though we are completely dependent on your mercy and have no one else to protect us. Now when all kings are at enmity with us. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he employs this technique which I personally find it very easy to follow, that he plays an interpolated conversation. And it is not clear to me if the conversation is something that in his realization he actually sees it happen, or he just uses it as a technique. But in either cases, it helps. So he says that after the previous verse, when Kunti Devi is glorifying, you have come for this reason, you have come for this reason, you have come for this reason. And the point that she's making is that stay. So Krishna might say that, but I have stayed many days with you. Now I must go to Dwarka. I have necessary work there. So Kunti Devi, so Kunti is his aunt, right? So what would that be in Hindi? Is Kunti something, right?
Bua.
Kunti Bua. Okay. So Kunti Devi is his father's sister, right? So she is a chachi, not chachi. Something, right? So Kunti, whatever she says that, please give me your assent. So Kunti Devi says then, but you are the person whose necessary works are already accomplished. Your intentions fulfill themselves automatically. She is Swakrata. So Kunti Devi is being transcendently cunning over here. So she is saying that you can do everything transcendently. You can just desire and those things will happen. So if you're worried about your relatives in Dwarka, don't worry about them. Swakrata. That all you have to do is desire and those activities will automatically happen. Now, of course, she does not cover the second part of it. Krishna might say that I'll go to Dwarka and desire your welfare. So she doesn't talk about that. She then talks about herself, that we the Pandavas, we are still in a lot of dire situation. Why? Because as part of this battle of Mahabharata, so many kings have been killed by the Pandavas. And even on the side of the Pandavas, so many have been killed because of this battle that Yudhishthira fought just to win the kingdom. So their relatives, their sons, their other relatives, we have made enemies from all of them. So he says, Rajasu Yajita Amhasam. That of these kings, the relatives, they are our enemies. So we are depending on you for our protection. So therefore, you should not go. Now, even though Kunti Devi is being transcendently cunning, but there is this quality of that she is displaying, which is the quality of dependence on Krishna. So Bhakti Vinod Thakur, when he talks about Sharanagati, he talks about 6 limbs of surrender, and 2 of them, so one of them is Rakshayatiti Vishwaso, to have complete faith. That Vishwaso is to have complete faith, Rakshayati, that Krishna will protect me. And the second is Goptruvite Varanam, that accepting the guardianship of Krishna. So Kunti Devi is exhibiting that that mode. So she's saying, I'm completely dependent on you. So if you notice that at the beginning she says that you have executed all this yourself. Now in the battle of Kurukshetra, Krishna did not take up arms. He had a very passive role. So he actually, the battle of Mahabharata was won by Bhima and Arjun to a great extent. Other warriors helped, but they were the main factors behind the victory of the battle. But Kunti Devi is not even acknowledging their roles. He's saying only because of you that this has been accomplished. Now, when she does acknowledge the roles, she acknowledges them in a negative way. She says, because of these things that my sons have done, Bhim and Arjun, we have so many enemies now. So rather than giving them credit, she is criticizing them, and therefore she is saying Bhavata Padam Bhujat Parayanam. So Narayanam Parayanam, taking shelter of Lord Narayan. So here she is saying Bhavata Padam Bhujat, so taking shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. So that is why we are completely dependent on your mercy. So Kunti Devi here is showing the mood of a devotee, that one, the devotee takes complete shelter of Krishna. Two, the devotee aspires to be always in the shelter of Krishna. So sometimes devotees, they take more shelter when they are in anxiety and less shelter when they are not in anxiety. So when things are going bad, then they take more shelter if there are health problem or other issues. But when everything is okay, then that thing goes down. So Kunti Devi is exemplifying both, that I take complete shelter of you and I take continuous shelter of you. And then she is talking about the mood of one who takes shelter of Krishna. So she talks about three things. One is taking shelter in the mood of working hard to accomplish everything. Right? So she's showing this mood of how everybody they tried their best. Second is, while you're working hardest, anything that is worthwhile that comes, you give credit to Krishna. Anything that is negative that comes, you take ownership of it. So while she's saying that Bhima and Arjun and the Pandavas, they worked hard, and they fought, but the victory that they got was because of the mercy of Krishna, and the enmity of the other kings is because of the fault of my sons. So once again, these 5 points on which this verse brings forth, that take complete shelter of Krishna, take continuous shelter of Krishna. While taking shelter of Krishna, make the best of your effort, give Krishna the credit for any accomplishments, and take responsibility of anything that negative that comes out of it. So Prabhupada in the purport, he explains this mood. Pandavas were the ideal executors of the standard of civilization. Undoubtedly, they were completely dependent on the goodwill of Krishna, but they were not idle parasites of the Lord. They were all highly qualified both by personal character and by physical activities. Still, they always looked for the mercy of the Lord because they knew that every living being is dependent by constitutional position. And then he makes this point that one who has shelter of Krishna is called Sanat, and one who has no shelter is called Anath. So Nath means one who protects. So Anath is one who does not have Anath. So if you remember, this term Anath was used in the previous chapter to describe somebody.
Ashwadhama.
Ashwathama. So Ashwatthama, Sutta Goswami calls Ashwatthama Anath, that he has no shelter. So Prabhupada, he glorifies the mood of Kunti Devi here, saying that the whole prayer of the queen is to try to persuade the Lord to stay with them. So the point that he's making is that as they say, by hook or by crook, if you can get Krishna in your life. So one might say that Kunti Devi is being cunning, selfish, whatever it is, but the ends justify the means in this case. Where is it all going? To increase her devotion to Krishna. So that is why it is glorified. One of Prabhupada's favorite verse that he chanted was Yena kena prakarena mana Krishna nishevayat sarvabidhi nishedayor etayor eva kinkara. Yena kena prakarena, that by one way or the other, anyway, mana Krishna mana niveshayat, that if you can park your mind in Krishna, mana Krishna, your mind can enter Krishna, sarva vidhi nishedayar, that all the do's and the don'ts. So do's and don'ts come as part of sadhana vedhi bhakti. Sarva vidhi nishedayar. So nisheds are the don'ts and the vidhis are the do's. Etayor eva kinkara, that they are all subservient to this rule. So if you flip it around, the whole purpose of sarva vidhi nishedayar is mana Krishna niveshaya, is that it should somehow or else help your mind settle on Krishna. If it is not doing that, then you need to re-examine the vidhis. Another point, slightly subtle point, is somebody might say that Kunti Devi, it's easy for Kunti Devi to develop this ratim, this attraction, because she has Krishna standing right in front of her. What about us? We don't have Krishna standing in front of us. How can we develop that kind of an attachment? And Prabhupada, in a lecture, he says that, so previously he said that there were people who were standing in front of Krishna who did not accept Krishna as God. In the lecture on this verse, he talks about the opposite, that there are people who actually never saw Krishna, but they heard about him. So he says that, so there were ladies who were the wives and daughter-in-laws of those who died in the battlefield. They never came in direct contact with Krishna. All of them heard of him and his great activities, and thus they became his devotees. So who is another great personality who developed rati for Krishna without even seeing him?
Rukmini.
Thank you. So Rukmini Devi, she had never seen Krishna. She had heard about Krishna from Narad Muni. And just based on that, she had completely fixed her mind. So in these 9 verses, from 28 to 36, is Kunti Devi's explanation of Krishna's birth and activities. And in the next 6 verses, which will take us to the end of the prayers of Kunti Devi, Kunti Devi will reveal her inner mood. So prayers is almost like the peeling away, that she goes from external to internal to internal. In the last 6 verses, she will talk about her innermost desires. So any questions, comments?
Yeah, Prabhuji, so it's so this verse 36, the previous verse, which is talking about hearing, and that is basically saying that hearing is a prayojana of the processes that were talked about in the previous verse, that is verse 35, right? So 30. So and then now this verse is saying that hearing is not really, seeing the Lord is not really beneficial until you hear. So basically, hearing is not really the prayojana. Seeing the Lord is not really the prayojana.
You're right.
So hearing is basically, so I'm just trying to understand, because Prabhupada never said that the goal of hearing is seeing the Lord. It is either more service or more.
Right. Okay.
just
So
like,
is it a question?
why?
Because
Yeah.
you're saying what Kunti Devi is saying and what Prabhupada is saying.
Yeah, I just feel like there is some disconnect in my understanding in that sense that Kunti Devi is saying that hearing is I mean, seeing the Lord is the goal of hearing, and
No, no, I think the first time round you had it right. Where Kunti Devi is saying that seeing the Lord is what it is. You know, if it happens, it happens. It doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, right? Because what does she say is that Shanvanti Swaranti Granati, that Swanvanti Gayanti Swaranti, right? That seeing, chanting, and remembering the Lord. And in this also, even though she doesn't say it directly, but she's again or at least the acharyas through the verse that she's recited, they're glorifying this process that Kunti Devi has established in the previous verse. So, and maybe I can take a guess at what's the cause of confusion. That what's the prayojan of chanting? Right, so chanting is abhiday, right? It's a process of, it's a devotional service. What's the prayojan of chanting?
more
Ask for more service.
More service and chanting, right? Prabhupada would say that the mercy of, the prayojan of chanting is more chanting, because as you said, it's service. It's basically more service, same mood. The prayojan of Shanvanti is more Shanvanti. When you hear about Krishna's pastimes, and it takes place, your heart develops attachment to it, what will you do? You will hear even more pastime. In a lot of these exalted conversations, it is happening between two very, very exalted people, between Vidur and Maitreya Rishi, between Maitreya and between Vidur and Uddhav. And even this is happening between Sutta Goswami and the sages of Naimisharanya. So it is hard to imagine that these are things that they don't know about, but they are still relishing it. Why? Because they have developed this taste of hearing, and they keep saying it over and over again, that we can hear for it for lifetimes after lifetimes. So that's the point that's been made.
And that is what I understand, Prabhuji. But like Kunti Devi is saying that seeing the Lord is the prayojan for hearing, which is what is confusing, kind of.
So where does she say that?
In 36.
So she says that we'll certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. Right? So it's not that seeing the lotus feet of Krishna is at a different level. So here, when if you look at Prabhupada's explanation on seeing the lotus feet of Krishna, and I think we had some discussion on the lotus feet of Krishna. So the seeing of the lotus feet of Krishna is considered to be the same as taking shelter of Krishna. It's considered to be the same, and Prabhupada in the purport of this verse, I think he speaks about it, is considered to be the same as being freed from the cycle of birth and death. So this is one of those phrases, you could take it literally, that if you chant, then you see the lotus feet of Krishna. Lord Brahma had that experience, that after performing, after chanting for 1,000 years, Krishna actually gave him view of his lotus feet. But it can also be taken in terms of shelter. That through the process of chanting, we take increasingly more shelter of Krishna.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That's a good question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, one question is like in this verse, in the previous verse, 5 points that Kunti Devi mentioned. In that, one of the point is like taking shelter, working hard to accomplish that. So here, what Kunti Devi worked hard to accomplish that, like, because the next point says while working hard, anything worthwhile, like in Pandavas, they won in the battle, but the credit is given to Krishna, and anything negative is taking credit of it.
Right.
But here, working hard, what did actually Kunti Devi did? Because it is I was a bit confused.
So the 5 points that Kunti Devi made. So one was taking complete shelter of Krishna. The second was taking continuous shelter of Krishna. The third was that while taking shelter of Krishna, executing your prescribed duties. The fourth was giving credit to Krishna for anything good that happens. And the fifth was that taking responsibility for anything that is not good, that comes out of it. So I'm not sure about your question now.
I think I understood, Prabhu, because even taking shelter, working hard to accomplish is also attributed to Pandavas. They only worked hard in the battle, even though they completely surrendered to Krishna. I was confused to think like what Kunti Devi worked hard, and working hard to take, it is not working hard to take shelter. After taking shelter, you need to do your duties as well. I understood that confusion.
Right, and Kunti Devi personified that, right? So even though she had taken shelter of Krishna, but you see her when she was with her sons during the when they were banished in exile. She was with them, being the mother, cooking for them, etc., going through so many trials and tribulations. So she didn't have that mood of just crossing her arms and saying, "I've taken shelter of Krishna, now everything should fall in place." So the point that Prabhupada makes in the purport, that line that he makes stands out, that one should not become a parasite on Krishna. That just because I've taken shelter of Krishna, then I'm just going to suck Krishna's blood and live on it. And Krishna's blood is probably a good thing to suck, but that should not be our mood.
And Prabhuji, like what when Pandavas went to exile, actually Kunti Devi was in the, other than worrying, probably she would not have done anything specific, substantial.
So you should probably go and ask Kunti Devi, right? So I'm sure she was doing a lot of work. I mean, you put yourself in Kunti Devi's position, that right from the time that she was married to Maharaj Pandav, she went through so many trials and tribulations. So I think making this statement to me is offensive. That saying that Kunti Devi did not do anything. Her position is that of a very, very exalted devotee of Krishna. And the fact that in all these adversities, she is continuing to play the role of a wife, a mother, a queen, performing all her prescribed duties, that is utterly, utterly glorious to me. So I'm sorry to say that you don't have that vision.
I'm very sorry, Prabhu. Please forgive me.
No, go to Kunti Devi. Go to Kunti Devi and ask forgiveness, not me. So next verse, 1837. Unless there are any more questions on this verse. Okay. So let's see the meter on this. Apyadyanastvam swa kritahet prabho jihasasi swittu sudro na juvinaha yesham na chanyad bhavata padambujad parayanam rajasu yojitamha amhasham. I'm sorry, I was reciting the wrong verse. 1838. Kevayam nama rupabhyam yadubi saha pandava bhavata darshanam yari rishikanam evastituhu. As the name and fame of a particular body is finished with the disappearance of the living spirit, similarly, if you do not look upon us, all our fame and activities, along with the Pandavas and the Yadus, will end at once. So Kunti Devi is now leading us to the inner core of her heart. And she is talking about, so here she's expressing her fear. And the fear that she's expressing is that of a devotee. So even though she is saying, Krishna, you're going away, but the fear that she's expressing is of a devotee leaving the shelter of Krishna. And you can see you can see our situation over here. That there is Kunti Devi over here who is comparing leaving the shelter of Krishna to dying. Like when the spirit leaves the body starts to rot. The same body that is a cause of pleasure to the husbands and the wives and the parents and the friends, when the spirit leaves the body, that body becomes abominable. If there's a dead body in the house, then the people want to basically quickly take it out of the house, burn it, whatever they do. And the same body, when it had the spirit soul in it, everybody was so happy. Kunti Devi is saying that is the plight of devotees who leave the shelter of Krishna. So in the previous verses, Kunti Devi has glorified Krishna in the form of his Nam Roop. So this is in verse 21, where she says, Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha. She glorifies him in his form. So this is when she compares his eyes to the lotus flowers, his navel to the lotus flower. She is glorified in verse 23 and 24, the abilities of Krishna, his guna. So she has glorified his Nam, Roop, and guna. And the point she's making is that anything that is connected to Krishna's Nam, Roop, Gun, Leela is only worth glorifying. Anything other than that is like glorifying a body which does not have the soul in it. So one may have accomplished a lot materially, but not connected to Krishna, it's like a beautiful dead body. Nobody will be attracted to it. It's useless. It's repulsive. So the point that she's making is that Kevayam. That Kevayam is what are we? What is our value? That we may have a name, we may have a form, but without you, it is all completely useless. And the interesting thing over here that Kunti Devi does is, if you look at the verse, so she says that so she says Yadubi Saha Pandava. So what she is saying that for both the Yadavs and the Pandavas, they are useless without you. So far, Kunti Devi was just speaking about the Pandavas. She was speaking about Hastinapur, the Kuru Vansha. Now she is also extending that and speaking about the Yadubi. So one may question that Kunti Devi, it's fine. As long as you were speaking about your family, it's okay. Why are you speaking about the Yaduvanshis? It's like you stand up and make a joke. So if you're from, let's assume I'm from India, I can stand up and make fun of Indians because I'm from India. But if I start making fun of Americans, that becomes offensive. I don't have the right to do that, and vice versa. So, so one may question that why is Kunti Devi now extending the same supposition to the to why she's saying Pandava sa Yadubi sa Pandava. Any thoughts on that?
One thing too, like because her birthplace is Yadu dynasty, like
Yes. So here she is establishing, which she will develop later on. So here she is establishing her connection to the Yadus also, because she is the daughter of Shurasen, and Shurasen is a Yaduvanshi. So so that is also her family, and she's bringing them both in because in the subsequent verses she will talk about this tension that she's asking Krishna to stay with one family and leave another family, but they're both her. They're both her family. There is a particular pastime that happens later on in the Bhagavatam that actually exemplifies this point that Kunti Devi makes, that without Krishna, all the name, fame, and abilities are all gone. Krishna is the name, fame, and abilities. When Krishna is gone, they're all gone. So there's a particular pastime that actually happens in the first canto.
The Arjuna, when he was praying, when Lord Krishna left the
Thank you. So yes, so this is Arjuna's realization that happens later on in the first canto, in the 15th chapter. So when Arjuna is coming back from Dwarka, Krishna had entrusted his wives with him, but then he was attacked by tribal people, and Arjuna is not able to protect. And then he has this very poignant realizations. He says, I have the very same Gandiv bow, the same arrows, the same chariot drawn by the same horses, and I use them as the same Arjuna, to whom all the kings offered their due respect. But in the absence of Lord Krishna, all of them at a moment's notice have become null and void. It is exactly like offering clarified butter on ashes, accumulating money with a magic wand, or sowing seeds on barren land. So this particular statement of Krishna, Kunti Devi, is actually exemplified by this realization of Arjuna. So Prabhupada in the purport says that no one should be proud of his prestige, power, and fame without being guided by the favor of the Supreme Lord. The living being are always dependent, and the ultimate dependable object is the Lord himself. So once Prabhupada was reflecting on this passing away of people, and he said that all that I have left now is a list of names. Nothing else, nothing more. And the same point, Prabhupada, of course, even his realizations are shastric. So the same point is made by Sukadev Goswami in the 12th canto. So he says that although one may consider oneself to be a great powerful leader, he will ultimately end up as a name in a long list of names. In other words, it is useless to be attached to power and position in the material world. Okay, so I guess I was being a little ambitious. I was hoping to finish the prayers of Kunti Devi, but we still have 4 verses. Also, next week I'm actually traveling. I'll be in Canada for a week, so I won't be able to. I'll be traveling a bit, so I don't know if I'll be in a position to give the class. So we're going to skip next Monday and Wednesday, and resume after that. We'll stop over here, and next Monday we will not next Monday, but the Monday after next Monday we will resume with verse 39. So we'll stop for any questions or discussions.
Ruchi, if you're available tomorrow, like an hour before, like we can probably have a class from 6 to 7:30 or 7 to 8:30.
7 to 8:30 tomorrow? Yeah, sure. Tomorrow is Ekadashi also.
Yeah.
So I don't have to cook tomorrow.
So Zoom is not available from 7:30 or 7:30 Central, so 8:30 Eastern. Yeah.
8:30 Eastern. Works for me.
So 7 to 8:30 probably we can cover up some.
So from 7 till 8:30 or
7 Eastern to 8:30 Eastern. I don't know. Many devotees are from Chicago, other places also.
Yeah, 7. I'm the only one, I guess, on Central Project.
okay. So so we can finish the prayers then, right? Okay. Is it okay with everybody else?
Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhu, Hare Krishna, here Sarangadas. On my side, I don't think I will be able to join, but you can do it, and I can, look at the video or at the recording.
Okay. Okay, so Prem Kishore Prabhu, if you can just confirm that the 7 to 8:30 is available and then send out a confirmation email.
Yes, please. Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you.
And Friday, you won't be available, right? Like, since we don't have.
Friday.
Since next week we'll be missing too.
Missing, yeah. Friday, actually, so let me confirm tomorrow. At this point, I don't know if I will, because I know we don't have a Bhakti Fiction on Friday. We have it on Saturday. But tomorrow I'll confirm.
Sure, Prabhu. Thank you.
Okay, Prabhu.
Okay. Questions, comments?
Just a comment, Prabhu. Like in the end of the class, like you're mentioning the, even how much our fame, name, and all we get, it just becomes a name in a big list, but nothing else. This was brutally a reality for us to understand.
Right.
We crave for it.
Yeah, it is difficult. And actually, that is why many of us, we try to live through a progeny, because that is our connection with eternity. So we know that we are mortal, we will die, but we hope to live on through our children. So one of the reasons why, at least from a material perspective, we have so much of connections, we have so much of asakti to our children, is because we at least in our mind, we live through them and through their children and through their children.
Prabhu, one question. It's a small thing. I kind of know the answer, but just from the discussion point of view. We spoke about in this, I think it is 34 or 35, initial verse, that in the 9th canto, the son who acts by anticipating what his father wants to be, right? In the first class, second class, and third class. And we also stated that who refuses his father is like he's eating father, like he's like a father's stool. Right. So as a devotee, we do, I don't know, like I think almost many devotees, we do tend to not listen, right? So is should we consider that as a it's not the spiritual father, which is our Guru Maharaj, or is that the way to think?
So you said you kind of know the answer, so I just want to hear what's the answer that you know.
What my view is, we understand that we are in this Maya,
Mhm.
material, due to our own karma, we have chosen our own parents. And as we took shelter of our own Guru Maharaj, which is spiritually our father. That's what I feel. That's the answer.
Thank you.
We cannot neglect the material.
Mm. Mm.
So my question is how to relate that.
Thank you. Thank you. Paramatma Prabhu, you have any thoughts on this?
Get on the microphone. I remember in one purport, Srila Prabhupada was making a comment also, similar to what is being discussed here. He was using the word putra and mutra. Mutra means urine. You use that as stool. And there was a comparison given about 3 classes of disciples also, which you explained, very, very succinctly. You put it over very nicely. But I really can't. I really can't zoom in on the conclusion. What Prabhu is really trying.
Sure.
I can't.
Thank you, Prabhu. So Prem Kishore Prabhu, I think the premise that you're stating your assumption on, I would challenge that making advancements in spirituality involves being negligent of your parents or being disrespectful of your parents. Prabhupada was very, very emphatic in wanting to maintain that spirit of reverence. Once Brahmananda's mother came to meet him, and he at that time was a full-time devotee, and Prabhupada asked Brahmanand to touch her feet, which he did. It of course freaked his mother out because she was not used to anybody touching her feet. And but then Prabhupada said that this is a sign of respect. So there's a difference between developing that attitude of being respectful, reverential, affectionate, and now in case of Brahmananda, the mother actually came to ask Brahmananda to come back, and Prabhupada said it's his decision, and Brahmananda said that I would rather stay. So Prabhupada did not order him to leave. So it's not that he said that you have to always follow the instructions of your parents, but at the same time he was very clear that the relationship that is that of love and respect should always be preserved. So which does not happen in a lot, but let's assume the worst case scenario, that somebody is born of parents who are completely envious of Krishna, who have absolutely no regard to Krishna consciousness. They might say, leave everything, come back, lead a hedonistic lifestyle. You don't have to do that. But that does not mean that you lack your affection to them. If anything, you increase your affection for them. Does not mean that you start disrespecting them. If anything, you become more respectful to them.
Yeah, as a devotee, we understand we should not disrespect. I'm not talking about the crossing any boundaries as a devotee, but not in that purport. It was like refusing one's father's instructions, right? So maybe it is an ignorant. That's where I'm going to. Like maybe part of that ignorance, if we the perspective is different.
So if I understand what you're saying is that if we take that verse where it says that one who does not act upon the Father's instructions,
Yeah.
is like father's stool. There, the point that you're making is absolutely correct, because if you look at the point that Chanakya Pandit makes, some of the verses that he speaks are from a devotional perspective, but most of them are from a moral perspective. And in Bhagavad Gita, we see that hierarchy, right? That higher than the rules and regulations of Niti Shastra is Dharma Shastra, and higher than the principles of the Dharma Shastras are the Bhakti Sutras. So yes, in that context, it is okay to ignore the instructions of the Father, as long as you're taking shelter of the higher principles of the scriptures.
Okay, that's what. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yes, Rangadas. I think the instruction is mostly for like devotee parent or very highly situated father that is following the rules and regulation themselves. Don't you think so?
Possible, yes, because I would agree with you that what if the father is a sinful father and says to the son that you perform sinful activities? Probably not the best. Even Chanakya Pandit would not say that. Then you should follow the instructions of the father. So I think the implicit understanding is that the father himself is well situated.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, a little bit. Any concluding thoughts? Okay, so we'll end here. Prem Kishore Prabhu will confirm by email about tomorrow, and then hopefully, if tomorrow happens, then we can conclude. Hopefully, we can conclude with the prayers of Queen Kunti, and then after that, and I'm hoping we have time. After that, we can step back and look at the prayers from a holistic perspective, the flow of the prayers. Because before we started the prayers, we did a little bit about the anatomy of prayers. So then what we would like to do is to apply that to the prayers and see that how they see how the prayers kind of fits into that structure that we had spoken about. Okay, thank you. Vancha kalpatarubhayascha kripa sindhubheva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Anant Koti Vaishnav Vrind ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.